Hi. In this episode, I'm going to lovingly remind you that all of our time here on earth is finite, and we're going to do a little check-in to see if we're even really living in the way that we say that we want to live. Let's get into it. Welcome to All In with Ali podcast, the podcast for online business owners and entrepreneurs who are ready to create the life and business of their dreams. I am so happy you are here, and I'm having an existential crisis. Whee! Guys, I don't know what it is. I mean, I kind of do. I made a list. I was like, what is going on? The other night, I was in bed, and I do this. I get like, actually saw, oh man, what is that couple? There's a couple. I know they're really big on TikTok, but I don't have TikTok. I don't have TikTok, the TikTok, but I see them on Facebook all the time. They're short videos. It's like a comedy couple. They're super cute. It's like Alex and I forget her husband, John. I think his name is John. Do you know what I'm talking about? They're so cute. They're so funny. They both have dark hair. They're freaking hilarious. But she did a video that Chris and I were dying over because it was a video where she talks about how she gets the nighttime zoomies or the bedtime zoomies, where right when you get in bed, like all of a sudden you get hit with all of this energy and you get super goofy. I do this. I've done this for years, and it like makes Chris crazy. And he talks about it all the time because I'll be like super tired all day, especially leading up to bedtime. The later it gets in the day, I'm like dying. But the second I take my makeup off and we get in bed, I'm like, wee! I'm like super excited. And then I want to chat and I want to hang out and I want to look at my phone and I want to read and I want to play with Chris. And he's just like, dude, where did this come from? Anyway, they did a funny video about that and it was spot on. So go find that. But anyway, the other night I got the nighttime zoomies and Chris, bless his heart, was trying to fall asleep. And I was like, hey, I'm like tapping on him and he rolls over. He's like, what? I was like, we're going to die. And he was like, is this your first day? Like, what the hell is wrong with you? I was like, I don't know, but do you realize and actually what I really said, I was like, do you realize that every second of every day, like this second and this second and this second, we are getting closer to dying. We are getting closer to our death day. And he was like, oh my God, help me, but I don't know what it is. Like, I know part of it's having kids, because when you have kids, you see how fast they grow and it is a trip, right? All of a sudden I have like a 5.5 and a 1-year-old and it makes no sense in my mind. I just had no children and now I have like whole ass children. So that's part of it. Like that just like warps your time and your perspective of time. And then, I'm in my mid 30s, which is so weird. I'm on the wrong side of 30 or the right side of 30. I used to think it's the wrong. Now I'm switching my mindset. It's the right. I'm just getting better and better. I'm not even in my prime. Okay. But like, that's a part of it. I don't know. Like, I think the state of the world and all that's going on, the other day, I don't know when this podcast is going live, but I did a podcast. Which one was it? I talked a lot of shit in it. Oh, it was your mind is either creating or destroying you. But in the beginning of that podcast, I talked about how like I was sad lately, or there was a couple weeks there where I was just really sad. And I just kind of talked about it and I kind of glazed over. But one of the big reasons that I was sad specifically around that time is because that's when all of the crazy, awful attacks on Israel was popping off and just the innocent people of Israel and Palestine. And it's so devastating and heartbreaking. And that's just one part of the world. And, I mean, we could go on and on. And I don't know, I just think it's a culmination of all of these things that just kind of freaks me out a little bit. Not to mention the years are going by so much faster. And by the way, that's scientific. I don't know if you know this, but like the older you get, because you've been on the earth longer, now your perspective of a year is a lot different than somebody younger than you, right? When you're young, a year feels so long because you've only been on the planet for a short period of time. But the longer you've been on a planet, your perspective changes. So the years just seem to be flying by. I mean, the fact that we're about to be in Christmas time. And Chris, the other day we were talking about Halloween. He was like, I'm about to have to put up the Christmas lights on the banister of the stairs. He was like, I literally just took those down. I was like, no, you literally just took those down. How is it already Christmas again? So can you tell? I'm just like, what is life? What is life? Oh my gosh. And am I doing it right? Right? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? I promise you, I'm not going to like have a panic attack on this pod. I have things to talk about. I've got notes. Okay. So I'm going to stay focused, but I guess I've just been more hyper aware of what is this all for, right? Like, is what I'm focusing on right now, like, does it even matter? And this is a slippery slope. This could go into a downward spiral really fast, because even from the angle of this conversation, we kind of assume that we'll be here on average 70, 80, not 70, God, 80, 90 years, right? We assume that, but we don't know that. We don't know that, right? So like when you really start to realize, holy crap, I could be game over next week, that's when you really start tripping, okay? But at the same time, isn't that such an interesting angle to also look at your life, right? Like, people say like, live like you're dying. If this was your last day on earth, what would you focus on? What would be the things that, and I don't even think that's a really good way to do it, because obviously if this was your last day on earth, your last week on earth, you'd be with your family. You'd be maybe, skydiving, like that stupid song, or who knows. Okay. But realistically, I think like a better way to look at it is, if this was, I think we don't even have to get morbid. We don't have to say like if this was your last 10 years, because even then, but I think we can think about this from a healthy perspective of, if we were just to keep the perspective of our time is ticking, our time is finite. We are not going to be here forever. Okay. If you believe in reincarnation, you'll come back, but it ain't going to be the same game. And if you don't, then it's done. So it's ticking. Based on that, which is very easy to forget, what's up? What are we doing here? And how I think about this myself is, again, trying to put it in perspective of like, does this actually matter in the grand scheme? Is this worth my time and energy? Almost like a new filter to run things through, And now I have like a new perspective and appreciation for, like your best hell yes, or only saying things that are like genuine hell yeses versus trying to people please and saying yes to everything or whatever. Like, I feel like the older you get, that's one of the perks is hopefully you begin to care a little less about what other people think. And maybe if you have people pleasing tendencies, that tends to kind of shift and go down a little bit, because I think the reason why is because you realize the value of your most precious commodity, which is your time. So I wanted to bring this here for a couple of reasons. I want to talk about this through the angle of your business and your passion and your purpose work, but then also in the perspective of your time too, because we live in this really cool moment of time where the possibilities and the opportunities are nearly endless, depending on where you are in the world. We have a lot of opportunity. We have a lot of different avenues and tools and paths. I say all the time, you can put any point on the map, like any place that you want to get to from the perspective of a career. Put it on the map. There are 10 plus paths to get there. Like there's so many options for us. If you have a general vague idea of what it is that you want to do, so many options, right? But with that, I do believe comes with a lot of confusion and a lot of opportunity to waste a lot of time. And I realized too that this is almost like this conversation is very controlly. This is very like, I don't know, a little too in the mind. Because I know a lot of people would argue like, yeah, that the point is to live life and to make mistakes and just kind of flow and not overthink it. And I think that absolutely you're correct. But also this is a different day and age where there's a lot more noise and there's a lot more opportunities to end up. I mean, I know there's no like technically right or wrong path, but just end up prioritizing things that you normally wouldn't, right? Like if you were at the end of your life and you're like, man, I kind of wish I didn't focus so much on that specific thing. And I just went to the part that I actually was passionate about, So anyway, let's talk about this through the angle of our businesses and what it is that we're here to do, our purpose. So this podcast is called All In with Allie, okay? Because I truly believe in getting clear or doing things so that you can get clear on what it is that you want to do. And then you do it with your whole ass heart. You go, quote, all in on it. That's like what it is that we're doing here. Also, the other angle of that is as women, we're very dynamic. We don't just have one passion. We don't just have one priority. We can do multiple things very, very well. And we also live in a moment of time where we have those opportunities, where we have tools, where we have, or it's appropriate to have teams and nannies and all the things so that we can be bosses in an office for a little bit. And then we can be home with our kids and then we can, be with our partners and we can travel the world and we can work from here and we can work from there and focus on this business and then move over and focus on this hobby, right? We can do all of that. So when we're thinking about this and, this perspective of like, I don't want to keep saying, am I doing it right? But if I really knew how limited my time was, is this what I would be doing? That might be, I think that's a better way to say it. If I knew just how limited my time was on this planet, is this what I would be doing? Is this how I would be doing it? Is this who I would be doing it with? I think these are really powerful questions to ask yourself. Because I get a lot of questions or comments from people who say a lot. I want to do that, but I'm scared. I want to do that thing, but the fear, gets in my way. What if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't, whatever? And it's like, you're scared of what? You're scared of it not working. But have you considered how you're going to feel in a few years? Again, if you really knew how limited your time was when you never gave it a shot? What is scarier to you? So some of the biggest year in the year that I saw, I don't know if it was the most growth, but a big, big, big shift and burst of momentum in terms of growth in my business was from the year that I technically started this business in 2018 to 2019. Because in 2018, actually in 2017, I knew that I wanted to start the business that I have now, right? But there were a lot of things that I was scared of. And there was a lot of things that I was confused about. And I felt like I wasn't prepared for. I didn't know the answer for. So I was like really kind of freaked out and tripped up on a lot of things. So 2018 comes, I start the business, which, okay, we got started. But that whole year, nearly that whole year, I spent it planning. I spent it posting on social, kind of, but I never made an offer. I did some things, but like a lot of the things that I knew that I really needed to do that would actually move the needle and get me somewhere. Like, for example, creating content with video, because that's when video was like really popping off. But I had, believe it or not, a serious fear of video. I hated the way that I looked in video. I hated the way that I sounded in video. I just tore myself apart. And every time I would create video, I just would damn near cry, sometimes genuinely cry, because I was like, I can't put this out there. Like, this is so bad. I couldn't speak to save my life. I barely knew what I was talking about, or I at least didn't know how to articulate it. So I drug my feet on like, so I wasted pretty much a year. Now at the end of the year, I finally got my head out of my ass. I put out an offer, I launched something. Okay. And we ended up negative $5,000 in revenue because I didn't even try and start selling until September of that year. And then, that's when I actually started learning things, but by then it's the end of the year, right? And I got to the end of 2018 and it was like New Year's Eve of 2018. And that's when you reflect, right? That's when you reflect on how the past year has gone. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, it's already been a year. I remember New Year's Eve of 2017, how excited I was to start my business. And I remember like the vision of how far I would be in a year and my hopes and dreams for finally getting this business off the ground. And again, just like how much I would learn and how much growth would happen. But I had this awareness. I was like, I've barely moved. It's been a year and I'm pretty much right where I left myself a year ago. And that scared the ever living shit out of me. It just, something about that freaked me out. And I was like, oh, I'm not doing that again. What a waste. What a waste of a year. Now, again, we can look at this from so many angles and like, is it actually waste? No, it's not a waste. Okay. That's not what I'm saying. But also I had a level of, I took a level of responsibility and I knew I could have done more. I knew that a big reason why I hadn't moved more and gotten further along and helped more people and done the thing that I really wanted to do that year is because of fear, because of confusion, because of uncertainty. Instead of moving forward anyway and figuring it out, which is how you actually learn, I barely did that. And I made a vow to myself that I would never experience that again. I would never get to the end of a year and be like, that was a waste because of fear, specifically because of fear, right? And like, I want us to take that and kind of zoom out on the perspective of our life. That's what I would like to do, because the amount of people that, again, come to me and mention fear in the same sentence of their business, it's like, I get it. But what is more scary to you? Is it so scary that you move forward on this thing that you say you actually want to do? That would actually be, something that you could pour passion into, that you would enjoy doing, that you would enjoy serving people in this way, that would give you purpose. Would it be so bad that you actually go for it and you don't get the results that you thought in the first year or in the first few months? Is that so bad? Who doesn't have that story, by the way? How many times have I told the stories of my failures on this podcast? That's part of it. That's where you learn. You can't get, like, how you go through it is you go through it. There's no shortcut to that, right? So like it always, like the way that I put it in perspective is like, but what if you don't do it? What is more scary to you? Doing it and it not working out the way that you think, or not doing it at all and realizing it's been another year, another 5 years, another 50 years. Because at some point, time will be up. And it's never too late to start. I genuinely believe that. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, this has been me the past 10 years, I'm screwed. No, you're not. Because if you're listening to this, that means there's still more time. So move, sister. Let's go. And, and use that as fuel to move forward. And this is, I realize there are a lot of you who have gotten started on your business. You're not scared to not start. You're already in this thing. But what is it that you're scared of? Are you doing your business in a way? Are you playing at the level that you would be proud of? For example, last year, I actually shared this in an email recently, but last year, when I was pregnant with Rhett, it was a big growth year for me. And I had a big goal to prepare for my membership because I knew that I wanted to start scaling my business. So one of the ways that I wanted to do that was to launch a membership. But before I launched the membership, I wanted to make sure I had a good library of offers ready to go and created so that when I talked about the membership, one of the perks is you get in and you get instant access to this beautiful library of programs. So that's what I did. And in addition to launching and creating so many programs last year, I was just a selling machine. I had so much energy. I was fortunate. I had a great pregnancy. I felt amazing. And I was just on one where I was just hustling and crushing it. And it led me to my highest revenue month to date. It was July of 2022, and we hit over 120 something in revenue that month. And then the month after that, it was like 90 something, like close to another 6-figure month. And it was amazing, right? Like such a huge milestone, something I was so proud of. As a matter of fact, all of last year, it was just milestone after milestone of like these massive revenue months and massive moments of impact. I served a ton of people. I taught and coached a ton of people last year, and I'm really, really, really proud of that. But right after that, I had my second child and things changed, right? Like before, Cruz was, going to school some of the week, and he had a nanny, and he's a little bit older, so he can kind of like do his thing. And it's good for him to have some space for me and Chris. So it's perfect. I could dive into work during the day. and then see him, throughout the day and at night and on the weekends. And it was beautiful. And then Rhett came along, and this beautiful little boy who needs his mommy, and things changed. And the cool thing about 2022 was that it brought in a ton of revenue, but at the expense of a ton of my time, like a lot of my time. And I mentioned to you that the whole goal was to prepare to start scaling, right? Like my big goal in 2022 was to kind of slow down to speed up, so to speak, so that in 2023, I could create these more scalable offers. And we did that. But after those months, and once I had Rhett, and once I kind of like slowed down, and I kind of had, postpartum, and then, as you know, lost my mom right after that, hit this big wall. All of a sudden, my energy goes from through the roof to non-existent. And once I got back into business mode again, a couple of months after having Rhett, it was like, I not only can I not do that again at that level, like what I just did, the hustling, the selling all of my time, the back-to-back launches, the layered launches, not to say I'll never do it again, but like not only do I not have the capacity to do that again right now, but I don't want to, like money's cool, but have you felt time freedom? You know what I'm saying? Like there are times where your priorities shift, and also there are different seasons. So I'm sure there will be another season where Rhett gets a little bit older, or when they both are older and they're both like not as attached to us, and they'd much rather be with their friends, and I can't pay them to hang out with me. So then it's like, okay, I'm going to focus, and that'll be like a great season to get back in, to hit it hard. Different seasons for everything. But for now, I had to ask myself that question, like, is this the way that I want to do this? Is the money worth it? And to me, the answer was very clearly no. Now, that hasn't been easy because I've made a conscious decision to not push as hard and to not grind so much and, burn the candle at both ends. And revenue hasn't been as high as I'm typically used to. So it's been a trade-off. But a good thing is like, okay, how do we remedy this? We continue to scale, and we continue to put systems in place that will allow me to continue to compound and earn passively, which is what we're doing, which is what we've talked about. That's why Bree and I partnered together to create Passive Social Sales, which we'll link that in the show notes if you want to grab that and learn the way to do this, but it's like that was a moment for me where, and a thing for me that was like, okay, my time is ticking. My babies are getting older. I'm getting older. Is this what I want to be doing in this way? In this way? How can I be doing this that is a better representation of my priorities? So I had to make that change. And, and there's a short-term loss, I guess, if maybe depending on your business. But for me, it looked like a short-term monetary loss when I made that shift. And it's okay. Because in the meantime, I've had so much more time to be present with my kids and, to take days off and do what I need to do. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. So if your issue isn't getting started or getting started on the thing, then I would reflect on, if you were really cognizant of your time being limited, would you be running your business in the way that you're running it currently? I think it's and we want to ask ourselves that question all the time, even if we're not looking at it through the morbid lens of, hi, you're going to die. We always want to be checking in with like, okay, is this on par and reflective of what I'm prioritizing? Like, what am I spending the most time doing each week? Is that reflective of my values? is something we always want to ask ourselves. Okay. So how I'm navigating this myself through my own little existential crisis is I'm just, I guess, like using this as a filter for the things that I'm saying yes to, the people that I'm spending time with, the things that I'm creating in the world, the things that I allow to take my time, and I'm funneling it through the lens of, is this worth it? You know, like when I'm on my deathbed, am I going to be glad that I did this? Or am I going to be like, what the frick? Why did I allow myself to be pressured into that when in the grand scheme, it just doesn't matter? Or, you know, I was people pleasing, or, you know, had my priorities messed up or whatever. So every day, to the best of my ability, I try really, really hard to make sure that I am being mindful of 3 to 4 areas. Number 1, the big priorities, right? Which would be my health and my family. If I ain't healthy, then that time's really ticking. Okay. So that's a big priority of mine. And also, obviously, my boys and my husband, my numero unos. Okay. So that's number 1. The second area is spiritual connection. My connection with the divine, my connection to spirit. This keeps me sane, keeps my mind right, keeps my perspective sunny and serving me. And then the third area is my purpose work, my legacy, what lights me up. No matter what, I'm going to work. I'm obsessed with my business. So being able to serve you with the podcast, with my business, with, whatever my priorities and my responsibilities are through that. Those are the areas that I'm just, to the best of my ability, if I am prioritizing those areas, then I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job in the grand scheme. But still, even in that, there's still things, like Chris and I, for example, we're asking ourselves, do we want to live here? And this is one of the reasons why we homeschooled. One of them anyway, because we're like, okay, we both work remotely. Why are we keeping ourselves tied to one place? So, and I've talked about that. I've talked about us potentially moving, but with the market right now, that ain't happening, and that's okay. But we're leaving. These are more questions that we're asking ourselves. There's like the immediate home priorities, but then there's like bigger picture. How do we want to live our life like as a unit with these boys? What does that look like? Do we want to live it the conventional way where we live in, the house in the neighborhood, and eventually the kids go to the school and we do the same thing every single day and we have our roots, or not? Like that's a big question. Or do we travel or whatever? So we don't know the answer to that, but these are just more questions that we're navigating and just being mindful of. Right? Not letting them get pushed to the back burner where they never get seen again. And then again, 5 years goes by and it's like, oh, shoot, we hate where we live. Why are we still here? Right? Just things to think about. It's so easy to get distracted. That's another thing. Like, yes, we live in a day and age where we have so many opportunities. We have so many options available to us, and we're also more distracted than ever. It's so easy to for a second, have a moment of clarity and say, hi, we're going to die. How do we want to live? And then, oh, did you see what so-and-so's doing? And, oh, I need to, whatever. We all do it, and it's fine. It's fine. We don't need to be stressed the F out all day on how we're living our lives and be morbidly aware that our time's ticking. That's what I'm saying at all. But also, don't get so distracted to where you're not asking yourselves these questions and checking in with yourself. So I'm going to end this with a few things that I think we all can be more mindful about if this is resonating with you. And if you're like, okay, I probably could do a better job in some areas. Okay. So these are some areas that I am personally being more intentional and mindful of when I am filtering my decisions through this specific lens. Number one, time wasters. This is a big one. Our distractions, right? Obviously, the freaking phone, social media, even TV. Okay. We can waste our whole freaking life living somebody else's, being excited about living somebody else's. I get annoyed with myself sometimes because I'll if it's a Tuesday night and one of my shows isn't on, like one of my housewives isn't on, I'm like, oh man, boring. Can't wait till it's Thursday because of a show. It's like, ew, what a loser. And I'm joking, but also it's kind of, yes, there's something to be said for turning it off, shutting it down, and some mindless activity. We all need it, right? When you're working hard and you got kids, yes, it's so nice just to tune into somebody else's drama. And I really listen, I'll die on the hill. I think we all need it. And I think it's healthy. But also there's that fine line between healthy moments of detachment and lighthearted, mindless activity at the end of the day. And that being your source of pure entertainment, and not just entertainment, but rush, excitement, what you look forward to. If the most exciting thing that happens in your week is watching somebody else on a screen or tuning into somebody else's life on a screen, we have an issue. Not saying just 1 week, okay? I'm saying you know what I'm saying. And it's really easy to fall into that trap. And I talked about this in the Your Mind is Either Creating You or Destroying You episode, that people let their whole lives pass them by because they're getting they're getting all of their excitement and endorphins from tuning into somebody else's exciting life. Somebody else is pursuing their dream. And it's that I'm going to cheer for that. Not saying we all have to go for fame or something really big, and not saying that we can't just exist, but I'm just saying make sure you're doing that for yourself too, not just getting off watching somebody else do it, is all I'm saying. Okay, so we got to watch out and be mindful of those time wasters. We got to watch out and be mindful of the energy suckers. People, places, activities that you're saying yes to for what? Ask yourself the question, why am I hanging out with this person? Why am I saying yes to this? Why am I doing this? Because I think I should, because I feel guilty if I didn't, because I always have, and it'd be weird if I didn't anymore. Why? Pay attention to that. Fear is another thing we want to be mindful about. We already touched on that, so we don't need to go deep, but fear of what? What's scarier? Failing and it not going the way that you thought, or not doing it at all? And then you're not even taking into account the fact that it could actually work too. That's the crazy thing. What if it actually works? Would that be scary? How would you feel about that? We want to be mindful about romanticizing too much into the future. This is where it's I used to be the queen of this, right? I can't wait till it's Thursday because Southern Charm and I feel good about drinking. Or looking forward to Friday, or looking forward to the weekend, looking forward to Halloween, looking forward to Thanksgiving and Christmas season, and then looking forward to spring. And we can look forward to it, but not at the expense of the present moment. That's what I was doing. I was it was always something in the future. I'd be like, "Ooh, I can't wait for fall where I can wear all my fall clothes and it's chilly and like spooky season." And then that season would get there and it's like, okay, the holidays are coming. Yay. And then that would come and be like, winter, man, I can't wait till it's warm again. And it's like, and we do this with our businesses, of course, too, where we romanticize that future goal. When I just get to this many followers, when I just get to this much in revenue, when I just get that brand deal, that client, and then it happens. And then it's like, when I just get to that next business goal and that next client, and we like never stay in the moment with the thing. And it's so sick, but it's so easy to do. So watch that, because life is happening now. You change your things. You do the things from the moment of now. Everything happens now. Okay. We're not going to go deep on time, but check that out, or check that. Romanticizing too much of the future. Same thing with the past. Romanticizing the past, overthinking the past, giving too much meaning to the past. Not saying that we have to pretend that something didn't happen, but don't dictate every decision that you made or every thought that you have of yourself and what you're capable of based on something that's already gone, that literally doesn't exist anymore. You gotta be careful about that too. You see a lot of people do this. One thing happens in their life and it's like, that's the meaning of their life now because of that one thing. And it's like, okay, that doesn't have to make you. If you want it to, you can. But what about now? What do you want to do now? Who do you want to be now? And then finally, we want to be mindful about putting important things off. Those priorities, those people that really matter to us. And you hear, we all say this, we all hear this, right? Like, call a friend now, send the text now, give the hug now, forgive the person now. Go do the thing now, start the business now. And it's real, man. All it takes is to lose one person very close to you that you're like, frick. Puts things in perspective, doesn't it? But like, we don't have to lose people to appreciate the ones that are here now. We don't have to let our life go by or a year go by to start doing the thing that we prioritize or that we want to prioritize or that's important to us now. We don't have to ruin relationships to prioritize the people that are important to us now. It's just really, really easy to say, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that next week. This is hard. I'll start, okay, next month. Okay, when the kids are this old. When the market looks like this, when so-and-so is president, then I'll start that business. And it's like, girl, you're putting a lot of faith in the fact you're going to live till 95 and God willing for us all, but it's not promised. So do it now if you can. Okay. Anyway, oh, what an episode. I hope you like this. If you did, I'd love if you left me a review on iTunes. 5 stars would be lovely. If you don't like this, then don't worry at all. Just like keep it to yourself. I respect you, but you don't have to listen anymore. Post this on Instagram. I will share it, screenshot it. I'll share it in my stories. And yeah, I hope this served you. I love you, and I will see you here next week. Bye.